Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marie's Scrappy Creations, where we sew the scraps of your life into beautiful creations. Today, we have a special guest, so let's welcome Adam. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Adam?
Yeah, I'm Adam. This is this is not my channel. This is Marie's channel. I have my own channel called Adam Sews. I am a quilter, garment sewist, and bag maker predominantly.
Yes, you are very talented. And for those of you who don't already follow Adam and subscribe to his channel, it's something you're going to want to do because you will be amazed, because every week on Friday, he says, "Oh, I didn't get much done this week." And then he shows you all this stuff that it would take me a month to do this. And then he works on top of that. So go figure. So I asked him here today because a month or so ago, I was going to make a tutorial about a zippered scissor pouch. There we go. I didn't really know what to call it. And I messaged Adam with some questions on what would you do for this or what would you do for that? And again, his brilliance comes through because he had the idea. So I asked him if he would like to do a guest tutorial, and that's how he ended up here. So I'm going to turn it over to him. He's going to tell you what you're going to need, and I will list that in the description box below the video, as well as I will link to Adam's channel so you guys can all check him out. So you're on, Adam, and thank you. I appreciate this.
Oh, well. Right. So I am going to switch over the camera to my cutting table and I will show you the ins and outs of what we need. So here we go. So we have got a quilt sandwich here of two pieces of quilting cotton with a fusible fleece in between. You can, if you wish to, spray baste the non-fused layer to your sandwich if you so wish. My fusible fleece has got a slight sort of Velcro back into it, so once it's all smoothed out, it holds.
What kind is that, Adam?
This is the heat and bond fusible fleece, but it's kind of, the back of it is sort of like quite brushed, so it kind of grips fabric a little bit anyway.
Oh, no kidding. Well, I've got fusible fleece on one side. I'm using Pellon 973 because that's what I have. So it is fusible on one side, and I used basting spray on the other. So that's what mine looks like. That's my lining, and that's my outer.
That's cute. I like the scissors.
Thank you.
So in addition to that quilt sandwich that is 13 by 9 inches, we are going to use a 14-inch zipper tape. You can use a standard zip if you so wish. I'm using zipper by the yard because I find it easier, because it's slightly wider, and I will show you why afterwards when we get started, because the extra width on the zipper tape helps for disguising the raw edges.
Okay, what size zipper tape are you using? Sorry to interrupt.
This is a size 5.
Okay. But they could use a 3? Sorry.
Yeah, you could use a 3.
Okay. But where are you both using a 5?
The width of the overall tape itself shouldn't really make much difference. It'll only be the width of the teeth that is different if you use a 5 or a 3.
Gotcha.
The other thing we're going to use as well is 2 pieces of binding, which is, I've folded mine in half and pressed them, but they are 2¼ inches by 6 inches long, which is longer than we actually need, but we'll just trim them down.
Okay, so I have those and I need to fold them in half and press them?
Yeah.
Okay, I just dropped one somewhere.
And obviously you'll need a zip for your zip.
I've already put my zipper pull on.
So I'm going to show a very quick way of quilting this in a moment, because I sometimes don't like doing straight line quilting because I find it quite tiresome. Sometimes sometimes it can just take ages and ages to do one line after another.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to take our quilt sandwich to the sewing machine.
We are indeed. I'm going to swap back to my other camera so that I can show you the machine view. Haha, there we are. And I'm back in the room. So with the way that I'm going to quilt this, I'm literally going to start in one corner. So I'm going to stick one corner underneath my press foot, and I am going to, at a steady rate, I'm just going to move my sandwich around underneath the needle and just basically just quilt swirly lines.
I just kind of just keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you start from one side to the other, or you just go back and forth, or?
I'm going to start in one corner, and I'm just going to literally whiz down like this, turn the corner, and just keep going round and round and round like this, just
okay.
sort of like a serpentine.
And you're using a straight stitch?
I am indeed, and I'm using a standard foot as well.
All right. I have done that, but used a, I go to say it and I can't think of it. I use the stitch all the time. It's like an S.
Serpentine.
Excuse me?
Serpentine stitch.
Serpentine stitch. Yes. Yeah. Yes, and I've done that same way, but I'm going to go with what you've done, the straight, and I will do that. So
I'm just going to angle this down so you can see the bed of the machine a little bit easier.
And what stitch length are you using, Adam?
I'm on a stitch length 3 because I like the definition of a stitch length 3.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the individual stitches a little bit better, and it just shows off the thread. So I'm literally going to, oh, just as well, I've got a size 110 needle in here just because we're going to be sewing over the zipper tape itself, and the 110 needle just seems to go over the zipper tape without
any... good to know.
So I'm going to literally start in one corner, and I'm just going to gradually work my way along the quilt sandwich just at a steady rate, and I'm just going to swirl the fabric around. When I get towards the edge, I'm going to spin the whole piece at a fairly steady rate. And I'm just going to put the two pieces together, just making a wiggly line. So it just...
The fun just keeps swirling back and forth.
Yeah.
I need a little practice on it, but it is fun.
I just kind of like the abstract sort of look that it gives, and it's just on some fabrics, especially if you're doing this with like crumb pieces, you don't really want something too structured for the quilting sometimes.
Well, I was just thinking that this would work perfectly on that crumb tote bag I'm making with the Tula scraps.
It would. So I've done one set.
Need practice.
I've done one set of squiggly lines on there, and then I'm going to go the opposite direction from the corner that hasn't got any quilting. I'm going to go and just do another set of squiggly lines in the opposite direction. So they sort of overlap.
I have my quilting gloves here that I was gifted. I've got 2 pair. I'm going to grab one of them and put them on. Not that I'm pre-motion quilting, but kind of. May as well use my handy dandy gloves, right?
It's just a really quick way of securing the quilt sandwich.
Yes, and I like it because you don't have to draw a bunch of lines or worry about where you are, how close together. No laughing at mine, though. When I get to the edge, I kind of straight stitch and then come back the other way. I think with practice, I would learn it, but we're all just going to do whatever line work out, and it will all be fine. I have some that are closer together than others, and I think that's all just part of, like what Adam said with the abstract.
It adds character.
Yeah. Well, mine's got character, if I can call it that.
Right, so what I'm doing, is I'm just going down the two longer edges, the 13-inch edges, and I've just basted down the very, very edge on both sides.
Okay, I'm almost down to that part. So you want to baste around all 4 edges, you said?
I've just done it just down the two long sides.
Oh, the long sides. I couldn't hear you over my machine. Thank you.
Because these short sides we're going to be trimming again anyway.
I've only got one more line.
Yeah, no worries.
Whatever.
So I'm just going to switch this
But
camera
this is fun. It's very just whimsical, and I like that.
It's a slightly more relaxed way of doing it. So here is, I'm just going to see if you can see that in the actual screen. I'm not sure if you can. So basically I've just done a wiggly stitch the whole way across here just to secure the two layers together so it just stops them coming apart. And then I've done a anchoring stitch on both of the long sides just so that this doesn't peel up when we're putting the zipper on.
Okay, well, mine is really wonky, Adam. I did something wrong. No, we're going to be trimming it. It will work out, but okay. Yeah. I don't know if you can see my wiggly squigglies, but that's what they look like. But on the other side, see what happened?
That's fine. You can trim that down.
Yeah. I have a little bit on one side, but as you guys know, I always show if I have any boo-boos, but that is actually not a boo-boo. It's just what happens when we quilt, which is why we always cut things larger and trim them down to the size that we want.
Yep. So what I'm going to do while we're on that note is I'm just going to run down the side and I'm just going to take off because I've got a tiny little bit of overhang as well.
Okay.
I'm just going to neaten those two long edges. The short edges don't matter.
All right.
But I'm just going to.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose a good 1/4 inch on one side.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Notice he says should be.
It'll all be all right on the night.
It will get caught up in the seam allowance, and no one will know.
Right, so that is those trimmed down. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take out the zipper tape and we are going to lay it good side. No, we are going to lay it. We're going to lay the zipper tape flat on the desk here, and then what I'm going to do is put one of the long sides with my outer fabric face down.
Okay, the zipper part is up or down?
So the part of the teeth are facing upwards.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take the outer of my quilt sandwich and I'm going to put it face down on top of the zip.
Okay. Should I pull my zipper pull off?
I would for now, yeah.
Okay.
We're going to separate this in a second.
Teeth up and right side of the project down against the teeth.
Yep. And then what you want to do is just line. You're going to want to line the edge of your fabric sandwich. You want to line it up about 1/8 of an inch in from the edge of your zipper tape. Okay, so down just a little bit. So you can see, so when your sandwich is down, you can see your zipper tape poking out the side by about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, mine is a little bit curvy. I somehow missed that cut. I'm going to straighten it up so I can see. And if you want, you can pop some pins in there just to secure the yeah, I definitely use pins. Zipper tape to the quilt sandwich. I'm not much of one for clips. Oh, I like to pin. I think that's what we get used to. If it's a fabric that won't be damaged by the pins, then I will use pins. Mm-hmm. Well, I always tell people with zippers, especially when you're starting out, pins are your friend because they're going to keep your zipper exactly where you want it. Yep. Whereas with clips, you have to be a little more experienced with zippers. That's just my outlook on it. Right, so I'll hold this up. So I've got my quilt sandwich and I've got my zipper tape overhanging the edge of my quilt sandwich by 1/8 of an inch. So what we're then going to do, stitch as close to the teeth as we can. Yeah, perfect. We're going to stitch as close to the teeth as we can to attach that zip to that side.
Okay, I'm going to change to my zipper foot.
And then I'm going to swap
And
my
I
camera.
usually use a 2.5 millimeter stitch length on my zippers. What do you like to use?
I'm the same. I normally drop it down to 2.5.
Mm-hmm. And you said we want to go close to the zipper teeth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you want to be about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch in from the edge of your quilt sandwich.
From the 1/8 we left out sticking out, is that what you mean?
No, from the edge of your quilt sandwich, you want to come in about another 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, which will take you fairly close to the teeth.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So we're going to pop that. We're going to back stitch on the end, just secure the zip, and then we're going to run down there and just make sure that we're leaving that zipper tape overhanging.
I just wondered what the reason we left it 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the zipper teeth, because you've got me wondering why we did that. I've never done it before, so it's new.
Right, so we are going to, once we've secured this down, we're going to flip the zipper back and we're going to use the tape to cover the raw edges of the sandwich.
Aha, gotcha. Gotcha.
So if you haven't got one of these, an awl or a stiletto is your best friend, because you can use it like a long finger that's not going to get sewn over.
Mm-hmm. And some people might have a purple thing or I go to say it and I know its name, can't think of it, but a harrow marker. That is helpful, but Adam is absolutely correct. The stiletto is your best friend on these.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a quilting harrow marker here that has got a sharp point on the end, but it's just not as stable as a stiletto.
Sure.
And once you've got a stiletto, you will always use your stiletto. It will become your best friend.
I probably should have asked you this before I sewed across, but I have a habit of moving my needle to the right when I sew zippers.
Really?
Yeah. Well, normally because I like, when I'm using the pretty zipper tape, I want it to show. So, because I think it's bold, like if you get stripes or colors, they're just so pretty and I want them to pop. But hopefully this doesn't mess up your system.
Right, are we attached?
Yeah.
Did I just see you take your pins out after you'd sewn your zipper, Marie?
Yes, but my pins were down here. I have the whole thing on, so the pins were actually down here. They're out of the way. But do I sew over pins? Is that what you're asking me, Adam? I do. I don't do it on camera because that would be bad. I do. I slow down. Have I hit a pin before? I have, but it's so rare.
Normally it would push out of the way.
Yes, it will. It will kind of move. That's why I slow down towards it. But I mean, when I get sewing time or feel like sewing, it's pedal to the metal. I mean, it is. I don't.
Yeah.
Or pin to the metal.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to switch cameras again. So we are back on this one. So we have now got our zipper tape attached here. We've got an overhang of zipper tape. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to pull my zipper out. And I'm just going to press it along here with my finger, which is going to pull the zipper tape back. And what we're now going to do is we're going to top stitch this zipper right as close to the edge as we can which is going to enclose all of those raw edges of our quilt sandwich.
I have to resew mine, Adam. I have a
Yeah.
glue. I'm going to show it just in case anyone else has this problem. Now, when I tried to trim my side even, when Adam told us to trim our sides, this is what happened with mine because I had the thickness, and see how I had that little bits of fabric showing. And I thought, well, that won't be a problem. But when I sewed it down, it is a problem because when I turn this up, I can see, whoops, I can see the raw fabric. So I probably should not have moved my needle position. I'm just going to quickly sew a little bit further over.
Yeah, no worries. So with this, you can pin it if you wish to, but it's because the zip is already stable and attached to the fabric. Once you've got that first bit under your presser foot, you can use your stiletto or your Hera marker or whichever you prefer. And you can, as you're sewing, you can run your Hera marker along there and it will keep it down so you can get real neat stitch on the edge of your zipper, which then in turn, when you take your quilt sandwich and turn it over, you'll have a beautifully top stitch zipper on the other side too.
All right, so I'm going to fold this down, or not really fold it, but I'm going to press this down, and we're going to go from the opposite side or from this side?
We're going to go from the side where you can see the zipper tape edge.
Gotcha.
And then we're going to top stitch as close to the edge as we can, with allowing enough that we're going to still be able to get a good grip on the zip. So about 1/8 to, if not 1/16 if you can. So I'm going to swap this over just so you can see.
And what's your stitch length?
It's on it's still on a 2.5. I'm going to crank that up to 3.
I was going to say I go with a 3, but I always tell people whatever you're comfortable with.
So just take it as slow as you need to. The good thing is with most of the zippers by the yard, they have actually got an edge to them which you can follow.
They do. It's so nice. There's a line.
It's almost like they've got a knitted edge.
Yes.
So you top stitch this all the way down. And this is how you can seal all of your raw edges on a quilted piece of fabric, which you can use this technique for many projects that you don't want to use a lining, like in a drop-in lining.
Well, I can't think of what it is. I would have to go back to my video because that's how bad my memory is. But when I did some coin purses, we hid the edge. I didn't do it the same way, but I had another way of doing it. But this is nice. I like this.
So nice. What I'm going to do.
Very nice, Adam. I like this.
It's just a new technique that's quite fun. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to lay my quilt sandwich back flat, and you will now see that you've got a beautiful line of top stitching, which is top stitching your zipper down on the outer side of the fabric. And what we're going to do is we're going to literally fold our quilt sandwich in half, so that we are lining it up with the other side of the zip. So the zip is still facing upwards.
Yeah.
And we're going to take the good side of our quilt sandwich and we're going to take that straight over and we're going to lay it on the zipper tape 1/8 of an inch in from the edge, the same as we did previously.
Okay.
And then we're going to secure our zip to the other side of our quilt sandwich. So I'm going to pop some pins through there so it doesn't move.
I think I'm watching what I'm doing. I had my lining to lining. I got to put the right side.
Have you ever used any of these easy grip pins, Marie?
I haven't. I actually was just looking at them yesterday.
They are surprisingly a game changer for something that is such a simple design.
Really? And they're longer, I think. I read yesterday. Aren't they longer? Or maybe that was just the size I was looking at.
So basically they have, I don't know whether this is going to show, they have a slightly different shaped end on them.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
And that makes for grabbing the end of them so much easier for some random
Wow.
reason. You think a tiny little difference. How it makes that much difference, I'll never know, but it does.
Yeah, it's the little things. That's what they say. It's the little things in life. And, you know, if it works, it works.
It does indeed. So we are going to, once that's all pinned on, we're just going to do exactly the same thing that we did with the other side. And we're going to sew along here to secure the other side of the zipper.
And Marie is not going to move her needle position this time.
So I'm going to drop my stitch back down to 2.5. And I'm just going to work my way along. This is what's good about the zipper tape, is you've got a lot more width to play with.
Yes. I was slow coming around to the zipper tape, but now I have all these pre-cut, pre-sized, whatever you want to call them, zippers, and now I don't want to use them. No, they are pretty colors, but the zipper tape is definitely the way to go.
I tend to prefer to use pre-made zips for the inside pockets of bags.
Yes, I agree.
Because they're that little bit smaller and a little bit less bulky.
I easily have 400 or 500 zippers, though.
Oh, easily. I've got two of those huge in my Calax units full of zips.
But just to show you how I pin, see, I pin down below.
Yeah, I see. So now we have a sausage, basically, a big tube.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just separate my zip the whole way along. So it opens out into two pieces. I'm then going to fold my zipper tape back, exactly the same as I did before. And I'm going to top stitch on the edge the same as the other side.
And I'm going to pop in and say that I am not using my iron, and I'm sure you guys are going, what? Marie's not using an iron. But really, you can press that down with your hands and kind of finger press that, because like Adam just said, this zipper tape gives you that extra width, and it really does help out. Now I am going to pin, but only a few times, just so that when I get close to it, I can grab it. But it really, pins are not necessary for this. It's just a Marie-ism, not an Adamism.
It's what you're comfortable with.
Yes. Now see, I've only got 4 pins going along the whole thing, so it's not really holding it. It's just keeping it there when I get towards that area.
It's a helping hand, isn't it?
Yeah. And I keep switching my feet out because I am not a person for top stitching with my zipper foot. I can do it, but I just as soon use my universal foot.
Right, I am going to swap my cameras over and I will explain what we're going to do next once we've caught up with Marie.
I heard my name, what?
I'm just going to hold fire until you've got your other side of your zipper done. So the next fun part is getting this zipper tab on.
Well, I got a new zipper jig.
She's got a jig.
It is. It's just like a third hand. That I didn't know how often I would use it, but I use that. It's amazing. It really is. Okay, slow poke is done. I'm going to trim my threads now, or I will not be happy with myself. But I will insert a YouTube short in the description box that will show you how to use the zipper jig, because it's very hard for me to get the angle and show you. But Adam, while I'm doing this, he's going to show you how to do it without a zipper jig, because he's just that magical. You know
Right,
it.
so I'm going to put mine on upside down because I want the outside of my fabric on the inside of the pouch for now. So what I'm going to do is take my two ends, which are the same length, away from the thing. I'm going to take my zipper tab upside down, and I'm going to insert one side of the zipper just about 2 millimeters, and then I'm going to insert the other side of my zipper. And once the zipper tab is near the end there, what I'm going to do is just give it a little tap on the bottom with one of my fingers, and it will just nudge the zipper tape in, and then you can then grab hold of your zipper pull and it will go onto the fabric.
Okay, well, I'm still messing because I'm going like this and my fabric's against my laptop, this part. I'm not used to working with something in the middle, so I'm making it look like this thing's hard to use. Because right now it is.
So what we're going to then do is we're going to center our zip by folding the edges down flat. We're going to center our zip between the width here. So the width measures just over, it measures about 4.5 inches with the zipper tape installed. So we are going to centralize that so that we have about 1/4 inch each side when it's on the mat, which works out perfect. And then I'm going to stick some pins through the end here just to hold that in place.
Okay, so I was messing with my zipper, but you're just evening that up. Put the zipper in the middle.
Yeah, and then I'm going to do the same end. Make sure your zipper is almost all the way open before you sew the end shut, otherwise you will never get in there. So I'm going to pin both ends. And then what we're going to do is sew across the ends, on both ends of the pouch. You can sew in, you can either sew in 1/4 inch from the edge if your edges are nice and neat. If your edges aren't nice and neat and you wish to, you can sew at 1/2 inch and then trim it down to a 1/4 inch seam, whichever you prefer.
I think that would look neater for most people to use the wider and then trim, because it's just going to look a little bit better. And if you're using zipper tape, now my edges were even when I started, but you see how they're off? So then that's going to work its way up. See, all the way up. So it's going to throw that edge off. So I'm going to use the second option. And
so you can use 1/2 inch, and then you can measure 1/4 inch from your stitch line and trim off it. So we're going to just quickly whiz across both ends here, and then all we have left to do then is bind both ends. So I will swap back to my sewing machine camera. There we go. So I'm in at 1/2 inch. I'm just going to drop my needle down. I'm going to stitch across the zip. I'm going to slow down as I get to the zipper teeth, so I don't break a needle.
Fearless. Do what Adam says. Don't do what Marie does.
And then once I'm going to trim those both down to 1/4 inch. So I'll swap to the
I have a question.
Yes.
Oh, you're answering it right there. I was going to say, can you sit while you trim? I cannot. I have to stand up.
I can, but I don't get as good a grip.
Yeah,
I always end up
that's how I worry. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I have more control.
Well, you have your body, you'll have your sort of like body weight and strength behind it when you're above it, don't you?
I knew these muscles came in handy for something.
Right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these binding strips and we're going to fold the raw edges in.
Okay, so we already have them. They're 2 1/4 by 6. So we have them already folded in half.
We have them folded in half, and then I'm going to tuck it in at the end just to conceal the raw edge here.
Okay, do you iron that? I usually iron that down. I don't have my iron heated up. You'll have to wait for me, Adam.
Yeah, that's
So
all right.
I'll finger press it. I always like to press that just because it seems neater to me. But I have fingernails, so I finger pressed it in. All right, you don't have to wait for me.
All right, I'm going to then fold in the other end here, just inside, and I'm going to line up the binding with the other edge. And I'm going to pop a pin in there as well. So that is one of the binding strips on one end, and then I'm going to spin it around.
I cut mine longer than 6 inches just in case I needed it, but I can see that I should have just followed your directions.
Well, it just depends. Sometimes they come out a little bit bigger, sometimes they don't. If you cut them 6 inches, you've got ample to play with.
Yeah, I usually just eyeball it anyway, so whatever works.
We can fold this in.
Well, this is fun making a tutorial together. I'm glad you joined us today.
It is good fun.
You have a lot of fans in my subscribers. You have a lot of fans.
They are very sweet, your subscribers.
And when you don't show up to live streams, Adam, you're missed. I will say that. We all miss you. And if you're not there, they ask me, where's Adam? I'm like, I don't know. So from now on, if you're not there, you need to let me know. No, I'm teasing you. But they'll ask me, and I'll say, well, I haven't talked to him or chatted with him, but it's very sweet. Okay, we're doing this on both ends.
Yep. And then we're going to stitch a edge just to secure the first side of the binding on both sides.
And you use a 1/4 inch, Adam?
I do indeed.
Well, great minds think alike. I'm almost there.
That's right.
See, this is why he gets so much done, everyone. He does everything at lightning speed. I'm very methodical when I do. I don't know if I'm slow. I really don't, but I don't get a lot of sewing done. People say, oh, did you get a lot of sewing done? I'll be like, well, I sewed for 2 hours, but then when I show you what I did, but I stop 40 times, I go down to the kitchen for a drink, or I answer the phone, or I answer a message. And
she's easily distracted.
I am. I admit it, though. Okay, so this is what mine looks like before I sew. I have it pinned in the center, and here these are all raw edges, and these are folded in on both ends.
So I've just sewn 1/4 inch on my first one to secure that binding, which will then allow me to flap that binding over to the other side in a minute. But before I do that, I'm going to sew the other one down the other end.
While we have a minute, while I am sewing, Adam, would you like to tell us about your upcoming pattern?
Oh, I can. It is what we in the UK we call them a bum bag, but in America you call them a fanny pack, and it is a new pattern that I will be launching hopefully next week. And it is a slightly different take on it's what I like to call a more modern take on a bum bag or fanny pack, and it is just a little square. It will sit nicely on your hip. It's got an adjustable waistband, and it has an outer pocket for you to keep your phone or whatever you want to grab quickly in.
Yeah, and everything these days, every bag needs to have a phone holder, so that's awesome.
And it's made from quilted fabric as well, so it's nice and padded, so it will protect whatever you've got in it as well.
Oh, that's awesome. And that will be available in your shop.
It will, yeah. It's a PDF. It'll be available as a PDF pattern.
Thank you for the explanation. I actually have a pattern. I'm supposed to be pattern testing, but you know what, you guys? I'm not very fast. And it's actually his fault that I'm not doing it. Would you like to know why it's your fault? Did you see that deer in the headlight look he just gave? He's like, wait, what? See, he gifted me some Tula Pink fabric scraps. So I have been piecing these to make a tote bag, and my mind is on scraps, tote bag. And then he sends me a pattern for testing. Which do I do? I guess you know which one. Okay, so I take it that we are flipping this over and around. Oh, you're going to show us. Of course you are.
Yeah, so I've stitched that binding down to one side. I'm then going to turn, well, I'm going to push them out. I'm going to flip, and I'm going to pull these binding strips over to the other side of the fabric. I'm going to use my stiletto because it allows me to pull that binding over and get right near the needle with my stiletto and holding it in place. And we're going to stitch as close to the edge of the binding as we can, and it will conceal the last of the raw edges, and then we are done once we've bound both edges. So you can pin it if you wish to.
I do.
I don't.
You know I do. I pin everything.
So I like to have a nice tight binding when I do my binding, which is why I cut it at 2 1/4 inches wide. If you feel that that's too slim and you would rather a little bit more, you can cut your binding at 2 1/2 inches, which just gives you about another 1/8 of an inch to play with when you're flipping it over.
But I agree. This is more snug. I think it looks good. Looks good.
And it reduces that little bit of bulk in the edges as well. So I'm going to top stitch both of these down, and then we can turn our pouch through and we will have a finished scissor pouch. So I'm just going to swap cameras.
Oh, I should have trimmed all my threads first.
If you've got a stiletto, you can tuck them in, like sweeping them under the carpet as you go.
This is someone who's done this a couple of times, you notice.
That's the few, yeah. Is that one where you ask how I know? And just remember to backstitch at the ends.
And he uses the same method. If you guys haven't seen his shop, which I'm going to link below, he has a pouch trio. Is that what you call it? What do you call that? Pouch trio?
The trio of nesting pouches.
Trio of nesting pouches. Yes. So he has 3 patterns for one price. And I wish I had one nearby. I don't know if you have one nearby.
I do.
Putting you on the spot. I made this and I made a tutorial. Look at that. Of course, with Tula Pink.
And then my small, this is the medium, and this one is with the vinyl hat in the middle, which I am going to do a video showing.
I was just going to ask that. You really should. I think that's gorgeous.
And you can see straight through what's in your pouch.
Yes.
So
I love that pattern. Me too. And he uses this method. So I've done it before. You know, this folding over. That's what it reminded me of. So. Thank you for showing, Adam. Show and tell.
It is show and tell. While we're in the room.
That's right. I always pull my bobbin thread up when I start on an edge that's going to be showing.
It gets nesting, doesn't it?
I hold that. I hold the top thread and just do 1 stitch down and pull that bobbin because I hate it when thread piles up there. And yes, I'm taking my pins out before I hit them.
I'm going to swap cameras because I've bound both my edges, which shows you how nice and neat and tidy they are. In a real world, if you was going to do this, you would use binding that matches your lining fabric. I have used one that matches my outer fabric just so it's more visible on the tutorial.
Well, I allowed you to do that. No, I'm teasing. I didn't know he was doing that, but mine actually matches my lining. So he did it for show and I did it for, I don't know, to match. No, I didn't even really think about it, to be honest. I'm teasing. I just had the fabric nearby and I used it. Because realistically, you could use anything. It's a good place for a scrap fabric.
It's perfect for those little strips that we've got laying around.
Da, 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 da.
Trimming those threads.
Yes, it will drive me crazy if I don't. So I have to.
Have you finished binding both your ends, Marie?
Yes.
Right, and then it is just a case of turning it through. So the best bet is to poke your corners through your fingers, and you can get a really good push on those, which gets them out nice and square.
Exactly how I do it too. See, we're just professional. Look at us go.
Then when you push out and it gives you a nice flat scissor pouch, which I have a pair of 10-inch massive huge dressmaking scissors here, which fit in there nice and snug.
Well, I'm going to try my Fiskars, and they measure 10.5 inches. So let's see. And there they go. Yes, they fit.
That keeps your scissors
nice.
Yes.
And you know, I never thought we could have said too, before you sew across the edge, before the binding and all that, if you had a little strip of fabric, you could fold it in on itself and make a little hanging tab or just a handy strap thing too. But that's perfect because if you, I bet you could fit the rotary cutter in there with it.
I'm guessing you probably can.
I did. It fit both.
Yeah.
And that's perfect. That's perfect. I love it. And what fabric is that you used?
This is a Ruby Star Society fabric. So it's got some bears and some owls and some moons and different things. Yeah,
because you were moving it around earlier and I couldn't tell. I bought some fabric at Martin's a month or two ago that had scissors on it. So that's what I used, was my scissor fabric. How fitting. Well, this has been fun, Adam. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it was brilliant.
I bet everyone just really enjoyed having you here as much as I did. So actually, let's do a creative word of the day today, and let's have it be Adam. So you all know the rules. Use it in a sentence in the comment section, and your name gets put in for the drawing. Adam, thank you so much for joining us here today. And remember, everyone, be kind out there. The world needs more of that. And I'll see you next time here at Marie's Scrappy Creations. Bye, everyone.